Ladies, listen to me. I know breakups hurt. I know your heart is heavy right now. But let me tell you something. The moment you stop crying and start climbing, he's going to feel it 10 times harder than you ever did. Why? Because men, most of us, we don't feel the breakup right away. We feel it when you start glowing, when you stop calling, when your life starts shining without us in it. See, when a relationship ends, most women feel it right away. The pain, the confusion, the hurt, it hits you all at once. You cry, you question, you replay every moment in your mind wondering what went wrong. And while you're sitting there dealing with the breakup, he's out there looking like he ain't bothered. You see him posting like everything is cool. He's hanging with the boys, maybe even out with somebody new. And you start thinking, did he even care? Let me tell you the truth. Men don't feel breakups like women do not at first. Most men got this pride, this ego. They convince themselves that they made the right decision or that they'll be just fine without you. They don't want to admit the loss. So in the beginning, they push it to the side. They stay covered, they keep moving like nothing happened. But let me tell you something real. It always catches up to them. And when it hits hard. See, a woman usually goes through her grieving first. You cry it out, you talk to your girlfriends, you get that pain off your chest. You feel it, process it, and then you slowly start to rebuild. You might not notice it at first, but every day you're getting a little stronger. You start remembering who you were before the relationship. You start fixing your crown. You get back in the gym, focus on your goals. Take that trip you were always putting off. You begin to glow. And that's the moment right there, that glow up, that shift in energy. That's when he starts to feel it. Not because you told him anything. Not because you sent him a long message. Not because you begged him to see your worth. He feels it because he sees it. He sees that smile coming back. He sees you showing up for yourself again. He notices that you ain't checking for him, and now he's wondering who is. It's not the breakup that gets to most men. It's the aftermath. It's the realization that they had a real one and didn't know how to treat her. That's when it starts to eat at them. That's when they start scrolling through your stories late at night, typing and deleting messages, wondering if they still got a shot. That's when it hits that maybe the grass wasn't greener, that maybe they messed up something that was solid. And that feeling right there, that's when he feels the breakup Tim's harder than you did. Because let me tell you something about men, they don't like to feel regret. They don't like to admit they were wrong. But when they see a woman they used to love thriving without them, when they realize they no longer have access to that part of your heart, it cuts deep. Because now it's not about what they had, it's about what they lost, and it's too late. A woman who's moved on is powerful. She's unbothered. She's peaceful. And peace is something most men don't even know they needed until it's gone. So while you were healing and growing, he was avoiding and pretending. And now that reality has kicked in, he's hurting in silence. He's thinking about you when he hears that song, walks past your favorite spot, or sees something that reminds him of you. And that pain is multiplied because it's not just about missing you, it's about knowing he can't get you back. So don't be fooled by how unaffected he looked at first. Don't let his temporary distractions make you doubt your value. You felt the breakup early, but he's going to feel it longer and deeper because you were real. You loved him for who he was. You gave effort. You were loyal. And when a man loses a woman like that, it don't just sting, it stays. So keep shining, keep moving forward. The man who broke your heart, he's going to feel it. Trust me. But by the time he does, you'll be too far ahead to look back. A lot of women get stuck after a breakup thinking they need to prove something to him. They want to show him what he lost. They want to send messages that say, look at me now, or hope he sees them glowing on social media. But baby, the real shift doesn't come from trying to get his attention. It comes from giving all that energy back to you. You don't need to let him see your glow up. You need to live it. You need to own it. Because the moment you start focusing on what he thinks and start focusing on who you're becoming, that's when the power shifts. You want to know what transformation looks like? It's when you stop letting a man's absence define your worth. It's when you wake up one morning and realize that your life is not over, it's just beginning. That's when you start changing your routine, setting boundaries, choosing peace over chaos. You take the pain and turn it into purpose. You take that heartbreak and build something out of it. That's real power. That's the kind of transformation nobody can take away from you. You don't get stronger by wishing things were different. You get stronger by choosing to be different. You get stronger by showing up for yourself day after day, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. And the beauty of transformation is it doesn't even have to be loud. You don't need to post every move. You don't need to announce your healing. Because healing is a private journey that leads to a public breakthrough. The moment you stop chasing closure is the moment you step into your freedom. Let me break this down. You are the closure. You don't need him to explain why he did what he did. You don't need him to apologize for the things he never understood. Your healing can't depend on someone else's awareness. Your peace can't be built on their guilt. If they couldn't appreciate you when they had you, then let that be the lesson, not your responsibility to fix. Let me give it to you like this. When a woman transforms after a breakup, she becomes untouchable. Not because she's bitter, but because she's better. She's wiser now. She knows what she won't settle for. She's no longer begging for love. She's becoming love. And that's the kind of energy that doesn't just attract attention. It commands respect. And here's what happens. While you're growing, leveling up, finding your joy again, he starts to feel that shit. He starts to feel the distance. And that's when it hits him. Because the version of you that's coming out of that pain, she's a whole different woman. She doesn't want the same thing she used to. She doesn't tolerate the same excuses. And now, he doesn't even have access to her. So focus on your transformation. Read books, hit the gym, start that business, redefine your goals, protect your peace like it's gold. Because it is. You don't need to announce your comeback. Just live it. Let your growth be the response. Let your happiness be the message. Let your confidence be the closure. Because when you transform after the pain, that's when you become everything he never expected. And everything he now wishes he had held on to. Silence and success speak louder than tears ever will. A lot of women think the only way to show a man what he lost is to cry, to call, to explain, to express how much he hurt you. But truth be told, that doesn't move most. What really shakes them, what really wakes them up is when you stop talking, when you go quiet, when you don't react, don't chase, and don't explain. That's when they feel the shift. That's when it gets real. See, when you're emotional, he still feels like he's in control. When you're texting, begging, asking why, he still knows he's got a place in your heart. But when the calls stop, when the texts don't come through, when your name ain't showing up in his notifications no more, now he starts to wonder. Now he starts checking your page. Now he starts asking mutual friends about you. Because silence, it's loud, and success, that's even louder. You want to shake him to his core. Level up in silence. Start living your life so fully that you don't even think about posting it to prove a point. Let him wonder. Let him feel the absence of your energy, your laughter, your love. Let him sit in the silence he created. Because the more you elevate without saying a word, the more he feels that loss. See, success after heartbreak is powerful. When he sees you smiling again, not that fake smile you posted to make him jealous, but that real joy that comes from peace, that's when it stings. When he hears you started a business, got promoted, wrote a book, or took a trip you always talked about, but he never supported, that's when it hits him. That's when he realizes you weren't just a woman loving him. You were a woman full of dreams, vision, purpose. And now you're walking in it without him. You don't need to make an announcement. You don't need to try to get his attention. The universe will make sure he sees what he needs to see. That's how it works. The same way he once underestimated you is the same way he's going to be shocked by your transformation. And when he sees you succeeding without needing to explain yourself, he'll realize that all those tears he ignored, they were fuel, they were power. And let me tell you, nothing confuses a man more than a woman who once begged for his time now being too busy living her best life to even remember his birthday. That's a whole new kind of strength. That's not revenge. It's maturity. It's you learning that the best closure is not a conversation. It's a changed life. It's you becoming someone he no longer recognizes because this version of you would never settle for what the old you accepted. So stop trying to prove anything with words. Stop explaining yourself. You already said everything that needed to be said. Now it's time to show him. Not through anger, not through bitterness, but through peace, purpose, and progress. Walk into rooms you never thought you'd enter. Do things you once felt too broken to do. That glow, that confidence, that elevation, That's the statement. That's the message. Because while you were crying, he felt nothing. But now that you've gone silent and started rising, now he feels everything. And there's nothing louder than a woman who found her power and chose not to say a word. Self-worth is the real game changer. It's not how pretty you are. It's not how much you gave in the relationship. And it sure ain't about how long you stayed. It's about how you see yourself once it's all said and done. Because when a woman truly knows her worth, she stops accepting half love. She stops chasing folks who treat her like an option. She stops lowering herself just to keep somebody who should have never had access in the first place. See, when your self-worth kicks in, your entire energy shifts. You no longer beg to be chosen. You realize you are the prize. You stop wondering if you were too much or not enough for him. And start understanding that you were never meant to shrink for someone who didn't know how to love big. And that's when the power comes back to you. That's when the healing apology is. Not when he texts you, I miss you. But when you say to yourself, I deserve better than this. The thing is, a man can sense when a woman values herself. He may not always admit it, but he knows. That's why some men pull back when you start glowing. That's why they suddenly check in when you stop playing small. Because when you walk like a woman who knows her worth, you become unreachable to anyone who isn't and meet you at that level. You see self-worth as the filter. It determines what you tolerate, what you forgive, and what you allow into your life. What you don't know your value, you'll accept the bare minimum. You'll explain your heart to people who never planned to understand it. But once that light bulb turns on, once you realize you've been settling for crumbs when you deserve the whole damn table, you change the game. And that's when he feels the breakup. Not when you're crying, not when you're posting quotes, but when you start walking like a woman who doesn't need him anymore. And listen, that's not being good enough. That's not being bitter. That's called growing up. That's called waking up to your potential and refusing to dim it any longer. A man will feel that breakup 10 times harder when you start treating yourself the way you were treating him. When all that love you were pouring into him gets poured into your own cup, into your goals, your peace, your passion. That's when he realizes he didn't just lose a woman, he lost a force. Because here's what happens when a woman who once bent over backward finally stands tall. It shakes the room. When the woman who used to wait by the phone doesn't even notice it ringing anymore, that's a shift. When the woman who used to doubt herself now walks with confidence, he feels that. Because deep down, every man knows the truth. A woman with self-worth is a woman he can't manipulate, can't play with, and can't get back once he loses her. So if you're going through that heartbreak right now, I'm telling you, let self-worth lead the way. You don't need to prove anything to him. Just start showing up for yourself like never before. Start treating yourself the way you wanted him to treat you. Respect your heart, honor your time, protect your energy. Because when you do that, not only do you rise so high, the only thing he can do is watch and wish he had appreciated you when he had the chance.